It's noon here in Ventnor City, New Jersey, and Bethesda, Maryland. And this is news that you can use from CarEdge for Thursday, January 26th. Hey there, Zach. How the heck are you today?
I'm doing pretty good, man. A little busy. The transition is still going on, so thank you, everyone. We have made a ton of progress. New release this morning. We will cover that at the end of today's show, caredge.com. That's where we can help you with everything. Dad, this morning,
Yes.
Capital One's earnings. Wowza. Did you get a chance to look at this? And we also have U.S. Bank's earnings. And I'm sorry, gang, it's earnings season, so we're going to keep doing the earnings coverage. It is alarming what's going on at these companies right now.
Oh, please, pray tell, share with us what's going on.
All right, we've got Whoops, Laura's texted me. Let me just put do not disturb on. Sorry, Laura.
You think she'd know you're busy at noon every damn day.
Most days it seems to be Monday through Friday. Here you go, Dad. A couple headlines that are of note here. We've got Capital One year-over-year originations falling 32% for their auto business. So let's take a quick peek here. These are all of the different Q4 earnings for the different financial institutions and their year-over-year changes here in originations. So Ally, we talked about it the other day. They had record revenues. However, their profits were down significantly. Same story over at Bank of America. Capital One originations down 32% year-over-year. Wells Fargo originations for auto down 47% year-over-year. U.S. Bank, Dad, down 28.1%. Citizens Bank down 15.5%. The storyline here, why are we seeing originations go down? It's tightening lending requirements for their customers. And Dad, Capital One, keep me honest here. Who do they typically lend to? What type of customer?
A lot of times it's a subprime customer. Questionable credit.
So you can't be too surprised to see them tightening their credit requirements or the amount of originations they're doing if they typically lend to folks who we've seen the delinquency rate continue to go higher and higher.
Well, that part is true. The other aspect of this that's true is that even though loan originations are down, the amount of loans is up, if I remember correctly from reading that, which means that the loans that they are writing are, well, much larger loans than what they typically had written in the past. So that to me also addresses affordability, and that it's, these cars are just not affordable for the vast majority of people.
We've got Hyundai fourth quarter earnings that recently came out, or we've got an analysis from Cox Automotive, and I'm gonna ask the chat. I'm gonna ask you this right now, Dad. At a certain point, maybe in about 5 minutes, I'm gonna ask you, what is the average transaction price in Q4 for Hyundai brand? Okay, and we're gonna come back to that, and we're gonna talk about the affordability crisis, and we're gonna touch on one of the most affordable vehicles and what their average transaction price is. Let's jump back into the Cap One news, Dad. The bank added $130 million to its allowance for auto loan losses. Capital One increased its allowance for credit losses as delinquencies and net charge-offs, quote, continued to normalize in the fourth quarter, their CEO said. Dad, they currently have $2.2 billion tucked away in charge-offs, loan loss provisions, representing about almost a 3% float of their portfolio. So we've talked about this ad nauseum on the show, and it's such an interesting storyline. Delinquency rates high, default rates haven't hit those records that we've seen yet. However, Capital One has 3% of their auto loan portfolio set aside, not for delinquencies, Dad, for default, for repossessions, for loans that are not. That is an insanely high number, 3%.
Yeah, loan loss provisions, 3%, and if I may, because I want you to know I actually read the damn article.
Appreciate that.
They had increased their loan loss provisions by $58 million in the third quarter, which means in the fourth quarter, with an additional $130 million set aside, they more than doubled what they had set aside in the third quarter. So that seems to indicate to me that the tea leaves that they're reading aren't particularly good for what they're trying to do and for what the banking industry is trying to do when it comes to automotive loans. It's the ongoing affordability. It's the ongoing realization that the percentage of people that will fall into a delinquent category within how a bank describes that will continue to go up. And all of these banks are setting aside larger sums of money for their loan loss provisions. Not enough to shake the foundations of the financial market, but enough that there's a warning that things are not as good as, well, everybody would want them to be.
I mean, Pops, we were on this when CarMax Financial back in their Q3 earnings, if I'm not mistaken, they significantly increased
Yes.
their loan loss provisions, their net charge-offs. And this is a new concept, just to make everyone aware. I think the net charge-off or the loan loss provision requirement for financial institutions came about in 2018, 2017, 2018, 2019, somewhere in that time period, which was a new law that was passed that financial institutions have to make publicly available their amount of loan loss provisions. Every quarter, they have to report how much money they're setting aside for loans that they don't think are going to come to fruition. And then, of course, that's every single financial institution's determination, because it hurts their gross profit. They make less money in that quarter because they put money into this loan loss provision bucket, per se.
Yes.
The nice thing about this, Dad, is everything we get to look at is rear view mirror. Like, for example,
Yes.
I'm going to pull this up on the screen. Delinquency rates. Auto loans 30 days past due increased to 5.62%. That is rear view mirror. That's already happened.
Yes.
Is that up 77 basis points quarter over quarter? Yeah. Is it up 130 basis points, 1.3% year over year? Yeah. Net charge-offs, are they up? Yes, absolutely. But that is all rear view mirror. We can look historically and see, okay, over the past 30 days, the past 6 days, what's happened? The incredible thing about these net charge-offs, the loan loss provisions, however you want to call it, is it gives us a forward-looking projection of what the wealthiest, most powerful banks are thinking about when it comes to their risk.
Yes.
And as consumers, and especially CarEdge, trying to help people save money on all things auto, Dad, what's mind-boggling here to me is I don't think we're even covering it well enough. How absolutely hammered people's trade-in values are going to be. You're going to try and buy a car next year, you are hammered. It doesn't even matter if you didn't make the mistake or made the mistake last year of buying with additional dealer markup, or it's got, like, I don't even think we're like bringing enough, and we make a freaking video a day, folks, and I don't think we're covering the story well enough. People are going to get hammered by this because the banks are making it super clear that there's going to be a flood of used cars that they're not going to want to have their hands on. The consumer's not going to want to pay off that loan. Like, it's not mortgage size. It's not housing crisis size. We know that's $11.5 trillion. This is only $1.5 trillion. But holy cow, man, this is some serious stuff.
It's serious. And as far as trade-in values are concerned, people are already getting hammered. We have seen it since July of last year, where used car wholesale values were ticking down a little at a time in July. And then the speed of the depreciation moved much more quickly as we worked our way through late summer and fall into early winter, where, according to Black Book, and Black Book has access to 95% of all cars that are wholesaled in this country, so that according to the data that Black Book was able to put together, we saw a decline in wholesale values at the auctions of nearly 23% in 2022. Okay, that's huge. Typical yearly depreciation historically has run somewhere between 12 and 16%. So people have been getting hammered since, I don't know, August, September, and it's only going to continue. And we already know there's fewer and fewer people in the market, and the banks are saying, well, we're not we're only interested in lending to an even smaller percentage of those people than we had been in the past. Man, yes,
we've got employment. Let's just be very clear. You and I have employment. Like, the content will be here for the next couple of years. The outcomes of all this is going to be devastating for some financial institutions, definitely devastating for a lot of dealerships who are going to get hit with a credit crunch while they have inventory, and incredibly devastating for millions, if not tens of millions of consumers who are going to be unknowingly sinking underwater on their auto loan, sinking underwater in ways that they didn't even know were possible. A decade ago, the idea, Dad, you used to sell people cars, they would roll negative equity in, and it was, $5,000, and that was a lot of money. I mean, we did the video, the woman $34,000 underwater. It pains me, but I think we're going to see more and more stories like that.
Yeah, and trust me, she's not rolling all that negative into her next car loan. Back and in that video we discussed that the consumer needs to do a much better job of putting themselves in a better financial position. But
Absolutely.
B, a bank, you can't blame the dealerships. Dealerships are there to sell cars, and if a customer comes in and says, I want to buy this car, it's the dealership's responsibility to see if it's possible to make that happen on behalf of the customer. It should be the bank's responsibility to say, whoa, time out here. You're trying to finance way too much money in relation to the value of the collateral. At a certain point, banks have to be the last stop in enabling consumers to get this far upside down in their loans. If that loan ever goes bad, trust me, whoever approved that loan, okay, at that bank will find themselves in a little bit of hot water for having approved a loan that would put somebody so far behind the 8 ball.
Eventually it goes back to the bank, because they're the ones that are actually holding the risk here. The dealer's not holding the risk. The dealer just wants to move the inventory.
Yes. And the customer wants to buy the product. It's the dealership's responsibility to figure out how to make that happen. And is it right for dealerships to sometimes talk customers out of doing what it is they want to do? I think it's right. I oftentimes, when I saw somebody trying to make a mistake like that, would try and talk them out of it, would try and have a conversation as to why it might not be in their best financial interest to do this. However, ultimately it's your decision, not mine. But if you want to move forward, at least you're moving forward knowing that I shared the picture with you as to why it might not be a good idea. Oh, I love your new background, Zach.
Yeah, sorry, I just went for a quick trip while you were talking to the other side of your condo. Dad, let's jump to the chat here for a quick second.
What does everybody think?
The condo looks good, man.
Yeah,
the condo looks really good.
Yeah.
We had a very thoughtful contribution.
We need to show a picture that includes the floor so they can see how bright and lively the floor is.
Tune in to tomorrow's show where you'll see the floors
at the end
of my dad's condo.
No, at the end of the show, you can pull up those pictures without us behind them or in front of them.
Dad, we've got a thoughtful contribution from Sylvia. Sylvia was, we were messaging a little bit, trying to help her out with a vehicle she's trying to buy. Sylvia's been a longtime member of our community. Thank you, Sylvia, for being here with us. And we have from Cheryl, which we really appreciate, just wondering if it's ever a good idea to buy a car that's been in an accident. Obviously, the price reflects that. I've got about $15,000 in cash. Dad, this is an interesting point. If a vehicle's been in an accident, that's priced into it. What are your thoughts about buying a vehicle that's had an accident?
It depends on how severe the accident was, what the level of damage was, and what the competency of those who repaired the damage was. So if you're looking at a vehicle that had been in an accident, a pre-purchase inspection would be the first thing that you would want to do, so that they could take a look, the mechanic could take a look and see what the integrity of the repairs looks like, what the quality of the body work looks like. So we always preach that you should get a pre-purchase inspection on a vehicle that had been in an accident. That should be the most important step. You need to know the severity and the quality of the repair that was done.
Now, Dad, you were making a really good point. You know, the finger gets pointed at the banks at the end of the day, and honestly, the consumer who takes out one of these loans. I want to show you something. This is an email that got sent to me just yesterday. One of our members working with Justice, one of our car coaches, go to CarEdge.com and you can work with our car coaches. This is what one of the dealerships sent her about a Hyundai Santa Fe, excuse me.
Yes.
Great. Thank you for all the information. They used at our email templates, our email scripts, which are 100% free. You don't have to be a member or anything. And I'm going to show you where you can get access to this. Sent your email template, which is great. And here's the deal, Dad. The MSRP is $33,435 plus $4,000 in BS plus $1,690 in Zurich Shield, making the asking price $39,125. Estimated out the door is $43,000. And the reason I bring this up, Dad, is because yes, you are right. The bank is responsible. The customer is responsible. You should not be paying above MSRP for any new vehicle right now. The market has entirely flipped. And if you're not one of the 1,000 people that tune into this show on a daily basis, and P.S., we don't blame you if you're not that person. We get it. You don't want to be up to date. You end up paying for that stuff, Dad. And immediately, the moment you drive off the lot, not only are you in a negative equity position because now it's a used car in a depreciating, in a market where used cars depreciate again, you're in an even more severe negative equity position because you just put $6,000 into something because the dealer said you needed to and you didn't know better. Again, consumers' fault, but dealers have been and have been and continue to try and take advantage of the situation and try and take advantage of the uninformed.
Well, and the reality is, and we keep saying it, and I read comments all day long on our YouTube channels about, well, dealers are still asking for a market adjustment. I'll say it again. I wish I had $1 for every time I said this because I would be filthy rich. Okay. It's an ask. It's not a mandate. You don't have to agree to it. Okay. They can put anything they want on an addendum label. You don't have to agree to pay it. You don't have to agree to buy it. Okay. You can negotiate it. You can accept it, reject it, or amend it. So if you see the ask for the $4,000 in additional dealer markup and the $1,690 in the Zurich Shield, you could either accept it at face value and say, okay. You can reject it and say, I'm not paying for any of that stuff. I didn't ask for it. And certainly in today's marketplace, yes, I get that you'd like me to believe that there's still needs for market adjustments, but everything I'm seeing outside of your dealership suggests otherwise. So I'm rejecting it, or you can negotiate it and agree to an amended amount of money. It's that simple. They can ask anything they want. You don't have to agree to pay it. It's really that simple.
We've got an interesting comment here, Dad, that shows the discrepancy in how dealerships are operating from Kevin. In Maryland, one dealer has 3 Silverado ZR2s with a $15,000 markup, and another dealer has the same truck with an $1,800 discount. And I just want to let everyone know, as we've migrated over to CarEdge.com, pulling it up on the screen, we can help you. I know the past couple of days for a lot of our members, a lot of our community members has been bumpy. Our team has been working our butts off. Dad, when you come into your CarEdge account now, so obviously homepage stayed the same. When you come into my CarEdge now, a few things to make everyone aware of. We just added some hot links up to the top here. Please, no more emails, no more questions. Where are the scripts? Click on scripts, folks. They are right there for you. We want to make things easier. Please, no questions. Where's Deal School? It's right there. How do I get to community? It's right there. You want to get access to your trade-in analysis from your CarEdge coach? Share a little bit of information with us about your vehicle, and we'll get you the trade-in analysis, all the live auction data, and more. We will provide that to you. Dad, we've also introduced the car buying help form. This is awesome. We are working on a much more robust version of this, but it's going to take us a few weeks, if not months, to fill out. Put in a vehicle that you're interested in buying. Great. Tell us if you have a trade-in or not. And here's the guide if you should sell or trade in your car. If you do have a trade-in, give us the VIN so that we can do the trade-in analysis for that vehicle. What's the mileage? What's the condition? Are you planning on financing, leasing, or paying cash? Oh, I'm financing. Okay, are you pre-approved? Here's our guide to captive lender captive subvented rates for the month. Yes, no. just go through this pretty please. What are you pre-approved for? What are you what's the amount? Do you have a worksheet from a dealer? Yes, yeah, I do. Upload it. Put it in our hands. We are going through hundreds of folks each week. Now it's more organized than before. It used to be you just had to go into this live chat down here in the bottom right, Dad. We're trying to make it more organized, more manageable, more navigable. So for everyone watching, for anyone who's been a part of YAA and now CarEdge, we are determined to make it easier for you because we do not want you to be like Kevin, someone who goes to the dealership that has a $15,000 markup and just say, okay, I guess that is what. No, fill out that form. It takes 2 minutes. Let one of our coaches review it. We will get back to you. If you're one of our members, we will get back to you. I promise you that. We're making progress, Pops.
It almost sounds like you're making it more intuitive.
We are trying to make it more intuitive. Indeed.
Well, I for one appreciate that, and my suspicion is that your members also appreciate that. And I can tell you who doesn't, and that's the team that has to build this stuff. But but having said that, I know they're determined to make it so, to make it happen, because they want it to be easier for everyone.
All right, CarEdge trivia. I asked at the beginning of the show, what does everyone think Hyundai? Yes, Hyundai. What do you think their average transaction price was in the fourth quarter? Pops, let's get a guess from you. What do you think for the entire Hyundai brand? What do you think it was?
Is this Hyundai or Hyundai Kia?
Let's just do Hyundai. We can do Kia separate, and we can do Genesis.
I will guess Hyundai is around 35.5.
Wow. Let's just give a second for some folks in the chat, but I kind of just gave it away. How did you... 35.5 is your guess?
Yeah.
You're about to get your own stamp of approval, man. Holy
yeah,
cow.
buddy.
Let me zoom in on this. Let me make it bigger. Hyundai's average transaction price in the fourth quarter rose 3% to $35,207. Did you look at this before the show?
Of course not. Am I supposed to look at this? I thought the whole concept of the show is you're just supposed to spring stuff on me and then I react.
Wow, that was impressive, Dad. Kia's average transaction price, again, these are your affordable brands of new cars, $35,419. And then, of course, Genesis is up at nearly 63 grand. They obviously compete in more of an upscale market, although that is cheaper than a Ford F-150. So what do I know? But Dad, this hits home on the idea of the affordability crisis and what we've talked about, consumers just getting out over their skis on new vehicles. And then look, we were looking at a Hyundai Santa Fe with $6,000 in air on it.
If I may for a second, average transaction price at Hyundai, as we know, is 35 and change. Kia is 35 and change. I don't know what it is for Mazda, but
I don't know. I don't have that data yet.
But I do know, because your sister's getting her new vehicle tomorrow, I do know that there are CX-5s that are available to be purchased sub $30,000, so that if people are looking for vehicles $30,000 and below, they do exist. They are out there. And this might be one of the few times in people's lives that, with rising interest rates and rising MSRPs, that perhaps, just perhaps, we buy the minimum of what we need as opposed to the maximum of what we think we want, because the difference between need and want is huge. And that a car with a limited amount of standard features, such as what your sister's getting on a CX-5S with the Select package, is more than sufficient for probably just about all of us. But the fact that they also make a signature series CX-5 that is over $41,000, just to appeal to people who want everything they can possibly have in a car, when you don't really need everything that's available in a car. sometimes we can do with less rather than more. Just saying, just making a suggestion.
Preach.
Yeah, maybe some of those Hyundai buyers, they should be looking at the less expensive Hyundais with a little less equipment. Just a thought.
And Mazda is one of the few brands. I pulled it up on the whoops, give me one quick second. I pulled it up here on the car search, Dad.
Yeah,
I'm sorting by where am I? I'm in some zip code when I was doing testing the other day. I don't even know where 48130 is, 200 miles of that. And I sorted for Mazda CX-5s new by price.
yes.
And now, obviously, these aren't the out-the-door prices, but look,
No.
there are 1,160. And here, let's do it nationwide. Let's look nationwide. So nationwide, this is obviously, there's a few in here that are junk. There's not a 2014 new one. Let's see. Let's go to like the second page. All right. So here's like the actual ones. There's like, there's more than 23,000 new Mazda CX-5s on the market, and a lot of them with advertised prices below $30,000. Now, if we do the same exact thing, let's go over here to, I'll just search it up at the top. What was something that Dara was cross-shopping the Mazda CX-5 with?
She was looking at a Subaru Outback Premium, which very hard to find.
All right, so we're doing Subaru. We're going to do new ones, and we're going to do premium. Nationwide, we've got 1,000 of them. And let's sort it by not nearest, but let's sort it by lowest. There might be some junk in the first ones. Yeah, a few junkers. I mean, there's a few, Dad, that are sub 30,000. Okay, there was less than 10 that were sub 30,000. So that's all you gotta do. Mazda, if you're looking for an affordable, we could do the same thing with the Hyundai Santa Fe.
Yes.
Mazda, if you're looking for the affordable vehicle. Now let's put it to the test really quickly. Let's go trim level really quickly. Onyx is their one that they're really pushing. Let's get rid of premium. Okay, there's not even that many more Onyx. There's more Onyx, but not that many more Onyx. So anyway, Subaru actually might just be the brand that has the least amount of inventory of anyone. But still, you're looking for affordable options. They are out there. It just means you need to go look at Mazda.
and not that I want to suggest that my daughter's pragmatic, but she is. You don't need every available manufacturer option or package to get a quality vehicle at a reasonable price. So if we shop based more on need versus want, we could help bring down average transaction prices. And if more people insisted on vehicles with a few less options, manufacturers would find themselves in a situation where they would need to respond to that by building more of those vehicles and making more of those available so that we could have more affordable cars in an available situation than what we presently have. But they do exist. And it's you have to discipline yourself to, nobody's asking you to get by with a car that has roll your own windows and a push button AM/FM stereo. No, nobody's saying you have to go back to that, but you don't have to have everything that manufacturers have made available today. It's, especially when you consider for most of it's just to get from point A to point B. I'm not saying you shouldn't be comfortable doing that, but comfort is a relative thing. So only be relatively comfortable.
It's interesting. There could be another party in this conversation that also wants automakers to make more affordable vehicles.
The banks?
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Like they're going to want to actually be able to make loans, have loans again and have confidence in those loans. They're going to need more affordable price points so that consumers can buy it. Like you're actually, I think, about to see more pressure on OEMs to do kind of what Tesla's done, which is drive down prices because it's going to jumpstart the economy again. Anyway, we can let's go ahead.
And what did we see? I believe the average auto payment, new car auto payment in December was up to over $770. Okay.
Yep.
And it's that high because people are, manufacturers aren't producing as many of the lower end vehicles, and
Yep.
and people are stretching to buy those higher end vehicles, when in reality, if you looked at a sub $30,000 Mazda, for example, your payment wouldn't be anywhere near $700 a month. So we just, as consumers, we need a tad more discipline as to what we're willing to buy and what we're willing to pay for on a monthly basis. That's just me.
Absolutely, Pops. A couple comments in the chat real quick. Kayvon, thank you for the
Thank
contribution.
you.
Got a 2020 Sonata Limited the other day. Congrats, Kayvon. Hopefully you
Yes.
still join us on the streams. It's awesome to have you here. And from Ben,
Thank you,
my
Ben.
favorite line from Hemingway. How did you lose your fortune? Gradually, then suddenly. Welcome, dealers, to suddenly. I think Ben is onto something. I really
Could
think
be.
he is.
Could be.
And a comment here from Robert. Dad, my son tried to trade in his 2020 Ram for a new Chevy Silverado and couldn't because it was upside down $15,000. Again, I think we're going to hear more and more stories just like that. It's unfortunate. A lot of folks are going to be in that situation, and hopefully they can find our videos and become aware of CarEdge. We can at least help them make it right on their new transaction.
Absolutely. And yeah, it's the amount of people that are upside down on their loans is going up on a daily basis.
Now, we will be back tomorrow with a show. We've got a watch update, a floor update. Really, you got to be kidding me. Kimberly's Corner. Tomorrow will be a pretty long show, but let's call it a show for today, Dad.
Okay.
If that's okay with you.
You are the producer and the director. I am just, the pretty face.
Before we do head away, Dad, I want to congratulate and send well wishes to Kelly, the car mom. We are huge fans of the car mom. She gave birth yesterday to her son, her third child. I don't know his name. I don't know if they've said his name. I don't know, but her son.
I do know healthy, seems happy. I do know he was 9 pounds.
Yeah, that's a big baby, right? Like, that's a heavy baby.
Yeah, that was bigger than you, buddy. Igor wants today's watch segment. Pull it up real quick.
No, you literally just announced that I'm the producer. I'm not prepared. I don't have it pulled up. Like, just don't put me in that.
I sent you the email.
I'm acutely aware of the fact you sent it. I don't have it pulled up. Like, please don't put me in that position. You knew what I was doing. You knew what I was doing.
Igor, it'll be tomorrow. I apologize. but if you want to know, I'll just tell you, Igor, right off the top, it's a Wolf Point of Chicago. Another one of my cheap ass watches. Just say it.
Well, thank you everyone for being here. Again, if you are having any issues logging into CarEdge.com, please just contact us, help@CarEdge.com. I am trying my best to respond to the YouTube comments, the community comments, the LinkedIn messages, the Twitter DMs, the Instagram DMs, and the Facebook messages. But if you can just email us, help@CarEdge.com, that is very much appreciated because it keeps it all in one place. And I have learned quite the lesson from this, Dad. Migrations are very difficult. They're very challenging. They are an opportunity for teams to come together. And I have seen our team come together and activate more quickly, more effectively than I've ever seen before, which is awesome. I just hope we never have to do it again. Thank you, everyone, for helping us along the way.
I got an idea. Let's keep this name for a while.
Just a couple weeks.
Okay.
I love you, Dad. I'll see you tomorrow at noon.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be back here again tomorrow at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific, with more news that you can use from CarEdge. And until then, have a great day, everybody. Thanks for being here. We look forward to seeing you back here tomorrow. Thanks, Hanson, for putting up with me today.
See ya.